I'm a little nervous going into a Square Enix game blindly nowadays. You could get anything from Nier Automata to the remake of The Secret of Mana. Dragon Quest is Square Enix's other absurdly long JRPG series that's a beloved older franchise that they somehow haven't fucked up, as far as I know. I've been wanting to jump into it for a while now, and since each title is a standalone experience for the most part, what better place to start than the newest, shiniest entry, Dragon Quest XI. You play as a much less cool version of Android 17. Contrary to the hairstyle, our boy here's the Luminary, which is basically the chosen one to fight an evil force trying to take over the world. He was separated from his family as a baby when he got attacked by some headless horsemen. Unlike the horsemen, 17 gets ahead by getting Moses to down a river. After getting raised in a small village, he sets out to explore the world and figure out what to do with his life because there's no Dark One causing havoc yet. He goes to the nearest kingdom to get an idea, gets betrayed, then is just on the run from the kingdom's knights as they hunt him down, all while still trying to figure out who the hell the antagonist is. Like most games, Dragon Quest XI slowly ramps up the difficulty as you progress by getting new allies and abilities, facing stronger enemies, etc, etc. Although, okay, I'm just gonna be blunt, it's a really fucking slow start. As in 10 hours of basic turn-based battles and going from city to city in a linear fashion looking for a rainbow stick. Unless this is your first JRPG, it is painful. It doesn't help that the early story is also pretty shaky. I've never been a fan of the chosen one cliches because it's often used as a plot device to make up for any real motivations. And that's exactly how it is in this game. No joke, your first three companions meet you and are like, well, gosh darn it, you're the Luminary. Well, guess I'll help you out and save the world. This type of writing hurts my soul. But once you get through the 10-ish hour hurdle, the game really starts to open up once you get your ship and a full party of characters to explore the world for the magical balls scattered across the world. No, wrong series. There are only 6 orbs in this story. Let's just call them, I don't know, the Dragon Orbs, because the game is called Dragon Quest. You know, we're just gonna move on. Despite the slow start, Dragon Quest XI really does start to pick up steam, and it just keeps getting better. Sure, the first half feels predictable, but there are some mid-game twists that really surprised me because I didn't think Dragon Quest had the orbs to do it. Once the game becomes even less linear, you're able to explore the world without feeling like you're being gated off like a toddler, and the experience becomes much more liberating and enjoyable. Each city has its own problems, and you'll be revisiting them multiple times throughout your playthrough. This makes the world more interesting as you're not just visiting an area once, helping them out, and it's happily ever after, move on, rinse and repeat. I think the most important aspect of this story structure is how this design focuses on the overall adventure that's made up of smaller stories rather than being laser focused on just one goal. Sure, both philosophies have their merits, but this is an 80-hour JRPG, so building up the party's adventure and world works in the game's favor. You'll be traveling all over to experience mirrors of real-world cultures and everyone's terribly funny accents. Is it anything new? No. But this fantasy setting truly comes alive with Akira Toriyama's art style. It's so colorful and unique that it makes the pretty safe world on paper with the desert, swamp, plain, snow level, blah blah blah, really stand out. The music tries to evoke a similar tone to match the visuals, but it's so bombastic and animated that it can get really annoying, especially since you're looking at well over 60 hours for the main story alone. Dragon Quest XI also helped remind me that postgames were a thing, and I'm talking a real postgame here, not the here are some extra side quests and collectibles, go have fun approach. This is the stuff that you'd see as DLC in most games nowadays. There's actual story content, more than 20 hours that tie up some loose ends after you beat the main bad guy. I'm willing to mostly overlook the slow start, but I can't look past the bland characters. Think of the most basic character traits associated with a rogue in a fantasy setting. Congratulations, meet Eric. You pretty much know him already. What about a healer? Great, here's Serena, same exact thing. There's the annoying lolly who's legally over 18, thanks Japan, and a morally flawless silent protagonist. They're all fucking here. The worst has to be Jade. I think the developers were split on making her a stoic warrior or the fan service, but couldn't decide, so they didn't really give her a character at all. Don't get me wrong, I used her a lot. As a party member, she's great, but as a character, narratively, she is garbage. They're not all bad though. The old man is okay, but all pale in comparison to Sylvando, who is fucking fabulous! Never doing that again. He's so flamboyantly gay, he steals the spotlight every time he speaks, and they gave him a really good character arc with relatable motives too, which just contrasts how poorly the rest of the cast is written.
Oh, this is too good!
The bottom line is the story is a fantastic adventure that stumbles in its execution because very few characters are worth a damn. On to the gameplay. It's a pretty typical turn-based JRPG. Choose a good party for the enemies you face and you'll be set for the most part. But if you have the wrong team for the job at hand, you can switch your party members mid-battle, and if you time it right, you won't even have to skip a turn. There's also this pep system that gives your character a stat boost and an option to use a Dragon Ball Z attack, but it impacts the flow of battle a lot less than the game thinks it does.
Solar flare!
You call that a solar flare? This is a solar flare. You can also move around during battle, which is a little different for JRPGs, which usually have you stuck in the same spot the entire time. It's really good for sneaking past enemy lines and gaining their trust, before ultimately stabbing them in the back. Yeah, just kidding. It doesn't do fucking anything. Attacks will connect regardless. Very useful feature. For real though, the combat has a lot of potential, but it's only fully realized when you fight bosses and need to find a way to come up with a strategy. Abilities and spells are distributed differently across your party, so you'll need different people to perform the right buffs, healing, damage, typical RPG stuff. Although to Dragon Quest XI's credit, there are a lot of creative ways to take down bosses. One of my favorites is using Eric to poison the boss, have a mage buff his attack, then use his divide ability to have 2 extra copies attack for the next turn. This next turn is an attack that does 6 times the damage to poisoned enemies. The end result is oh so satisfying.
Now that's a lot of damage!
While I love the puntastic enemies that just ooze creativity, they're so damn easy. Just put your allies to the fight wisely setting and you'll come out on top nearly every time. The leveling system and save points are generous too, so you don't really need to conserve magic all that much. So for the JRPG veterans and challenge lovers out there, be sure to enable some of those challenge modes at the beginning of the game. The good news is most enemies are pretty optional because of a severe cataract problem plaguing monster kind. But if stealth is too boring, just fucking run them over with your horse. Thankfully, you can get by without grinding away for levels, so you don't have to fight everything that looks at you funny, if you don't want to. That might be one of Dragon Quest's strengths though. Most of the battles can be won with a good strategy, so if you're 5 levels behind, you still have a fighting chance. Your options and strategies only improve as you level up, which means the major boss battles keep getting better. You can also respec each character's skills relatively easily, which promotes more experimentation. If there was anything to complain about though, it would be the shit battle menu system. Once you get a hefty amount of skills or spells, it can be downright annoying to find the one you want. As a matter of fact, I really hate Dragon Quest XI's menu system in general. It's not very intuitive or well organized. For example, you can't even look in your general equipment bag with the equipment tab. Should've picked the item tab, dummy. Here's another one. If I press the options button, what do you think happens? Yeah, it's not a menu, it's an auto run. Although my favorite part is R2 is the sprint button, which makes you go twice as fast, and you don't even need to use it with the analog stick, which means there are technically 2 auto-run buttons for some godforsaken reason. I guess we'll end on a positive note for once, and I barely believe this is even coming out of my mouth. I like this game's crafting system. Weird, right? Dragon Quest XI makes you play a mini-game. Doing well means you get better gear. You could skip it and get the basic item, but that simple reward, along with the minigame itself, make the whole experience interactive, and actually had me returning whenever I found a new recipe. Dragon Quest XI is the definition of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's an old school JRPG at heart with the feel of a modern game, but for every praiseworthy element in this game, there's something else, whether it's the story, presentation, or gameplay, that holds it back from truly excelling. Although I still found myself enjoying the game quite a bit overall. Dragon Quest XI gets a B. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching it all the way through. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. I really feel like Persona 5 has ruined JRPGs for me. Just because it raised the bar so high, I'm now comparing every JRPG to that game now, which you should definitely play, by the way. But I really did enjoy Dragon Quest, and can definitively say that it was the best JRPG of 2018, for whatever that's worth. And I'm looking forward to Dragon Quest 12 whenever that game comes out too. But anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Have some more videos coming up. Later.